Mandatory test. Mandatory test. All right. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Kingdom of Rizia. So, today is our second episode of this series, and I'm so excited to figure out what comes next. So, if you don't know, this is my very first time streaming the Suzerain DLC and my very first time playing this DLC at all. So, last time we began construction of the dam, and I think that's going to be very, very good for us. It's going to help us diversify our economy, which is what we want. We don't want to be completely reliant on energy. Also, it's going to give us a lot more energy. So diversification of energy, diversification of the economy, all is well and good. We also sold off a bit of oil to allow the Vejek and where is it? Yeah, path to citizenship streamlined. So, this is going to help integrate the refugees and immigrants who have come into the country. I think that's going to be excellent. There was a student protest, and this is what we signed in response to that. Reach it to become energy exporter. That we will. So, without further... Oh, yes, and also Lesbia has just joined the ATO. So, with all of that said and done, I think we can continue on. All right, let's do this. The Golden Kingdom. My hair's sticking up a little bit. All right, let's do this. Yes, I'm vain. Sue me. All right, what have we got? Tax credit for businesses. I don't really like the National Congress very much. The kingdom bestows notable tax credits to businesses aiming to invigorate the economic landscape. That could actually be pretty strong. This strategic decision is intended to spur innovation and encourage domestic investment. Industries and entrepreneurs across Rizia stand poised to benefit, yet there's palpable concern about potential strains on national treasury. However, proponents believe the long-term economic momentum will be more than compensate. It's really expensive, though, and authority is a very important commodity for us. Oh, yes. So here we can see what we've enacted so far. Zapana Hydroelectric Dam, small global energy sale, so that we could pay for the naturalization process for foreigners, and the sovereign transition and clemency. Oh, equal gender pay, also good. Energy purchases, energy sales, expansion of the offshore gas field. Yeah, so this is way more complex than the original. Oh, well, more complex in some ways, less complex in others. Less complex in that it tells you more information than the original game did. However, more complex in that we have a lot more to do in terms of signing royal decrees whenever, and, well, the Region Armed Forces. Very interesting, I think. Okay, let's take a look at this, because I didn't look at this last time. Let's take a closer, in-depth look. Infantry divisions are the backbone of the army, composed of a few thousand professional soldiers. All right. Oh, 5 trucks. Okay. Support divisions are agile and move faster on supply lines, but will suffer when attacking mountains. Okay. Okay, so this is like a mechanized infantry in that case. Armored divisions move faster on supply lines, but suffer when attacking mountains. Their armor makes them a versatile option. Military ships, submarines. Militia, special unit, not trainable. I see. Made out of a few thousand volunteer fighters, often sent to the front line with little training. Paratroopers, not trainable. Deployed behind enemy lines, cut supply lines, facilitate breakthroughs. Golden Guard, not trainable. Azaro elites. Hardened veterans mobilized by House of Zaro, specialized in offensive operations. Sazon levies. Very interesting. So I'm gonna throw this out there. Knowing that the Azaro elites, or no, sorry, the Golden Guard are very highly trained special units, I'd want to lean into a special forces doctrine. I think that would actually make sense for Rizia. Also, going less into tank will save us energy in the long term. So having like potentially having support and a lot of support and infantry units could be really strong. Theoretically, we could train one tank unit right now as well. Equipment is also valuable. How much of this are we producing? Do we know? It doesn't seem to say how much equipment we're producing. Yeah, like I said, significantly more complex in some ways. Do I start training units? 300 manpower, 300 equipment, 50 trucks. We could do that. Oh, wait. Can we start a truck factory? Is that a thing? Oh, Roma's Taurus Military Academy. Ooh. That's potentially an option. Support vehicle factory. Plus 75 support vehicles. Is that what the trucks are? No, these are separate. Are they? Strong logistical framework for our defense operations. We decree the creation of a support vehicle factory. Produce a range of vehicles annually in IFVs, APCs, trucks, motorized artilleries, and supply trucks. That could be really good, actually, because this would also help us diversify our economy. Logistics hub. Military-centric endeavor. I don't want to lean too much in militarism. Ooh, sell first batch of tanks to... Oh, we could start selling them. Ooh. Or we could buy them. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Huh. Okay, let's oh, Nelvasar oil field closure. Historic oil field has shut down its operations. A significant chapter in Rizia's oil history is drawing to a close, and Nelvasar oil field Fulcidator, an instrumental asset since its discovery in 1895, faces imminent shutdown. Despite the depletion of its once abundant reserves, the field has continually played a role in meeting Rizia's oil demands. Under the unwavering management of Rizian oil and gas, the field has stood the test of time, but nature's limits are becoming evident. -1 energy per turn. I never thought about it, but if you don't plan on being part of conflicts, you could build factories to sell equipment and vehicles. Yes, that's what I was thinking, because we do want to diversify our economy here. That's part of our promises. So I'm thinking it might be a good idea to, train a very small army maybe, and then have the rest of it sold to the market, because that could be really good. Where one door closes, another opens. That's really unfortunate. We need the energy. What situations do we have? Nevisar oil depleted. That's really unfortunate. Denial of welfare service for Golcondas. That's bad. High amount of illegal substance use. Also bad. We need to deal with that. Dissatisfied Golcondas and vibrant drug trade. This ain't good. Oil workers commemorate closing field. Organize commemoration. Expand the border guards. That's not necessary. Non-British religion tap. Oh, fuck off. Residence and work permit for migrants. Ooh. Legalize illegal substances. That's interesting, actually. Hang on. The state, in a landmark decision, decrees the legalization of substances previously classified as illegal. The transformative policy is aimed at reducing the burden on the judicial system, undermining illicit trade, promoting responsible use through regulation. Funds formerly allocated for enforcement will be redirected towards education, addiction treatment programs, and public health initiatives. This measure recognizes the shifting societal perspective on substance use and prioritizes harm reduction. Ooh, that's a very good one. This is also good. A new framework for granting residence and work permits for migrants has been established. Designed to streamline the application process and support our labor market needs, this program will facilitate the entry of and integration of skilled migrants into the workforce, ensuring they contribute effectively to our economy. It will strike a balance between the need for external talent and protection of domestic labor markets. I'm going to close these just so I can see it a little better. There's a lot on the line here. Neutral destiners and Vrishist community. Ooh, consumer industry park or heavy industry park. Oh yeah, Asia is not doing well actually, from what I remember. And that could go well with the other one. Completely forgot the name already. I need more authority. Is there anything that gets me more authority? -4, -4, expand border guards, -4, 1. We need a lot more authority. Huh. God, I wish I had an editor. Council meeting on foreign relations. Council chambers. Palace Reshna. Excuse me. The day of my foreign policy council meeting had arrived. It was a hot one. The fans in Palace Reshna provided little relief. I decided to take in some fresh air in the palace gardens. Papel had hired a new groundskeeper who faithfully maintained his father's arrangements. That's sweet. Before he was my butler, my friend had explained to me that the plants and flowers here were laid out geographically. Rica and ferns in the east, Jean and lilies to the south, and Rumberg-style rose garden in the north. Where are you from, Mix? I'm Canadian. To the west was a labyrinth hedge maze made of laurels donated from the Kingdom of Narberk. Is weed legal there? Yes, it is. I should know. I spent a while wandering around, then returned to the middle of the garden, where a series of stone sculptures were surrounded by Retian palms and succulents. Actually, that's an interesting thing to mention, since we were talking about the drug issue here. Weed legalization has been consistently very, very good for Canada. One, the taxes received from the government have been, very helpful in both helping slightly with our rising debt situation and, funding social programs, and also the increase in education and, knowledge on the substance has been, a good thing overall. It's actually, from what I understand, I might be misremembering, but it's the first country to both legalize it and permit its sale at the same time. So fun fact there. Don't quote me on that. I might be misremembering, but from what I remember, that's how it happened. I spent a while wandering around, then returned to the middle of the garden, where a series of stone sculptures were surrounded by Retian palms and succulents. Yes, I'm against everything except weed, but everything should be legal. I agree with you. Yeah, I fully agree. To my left, I saw Vina reading a book on a bench beneath a decorative stone arch. In the date palm grove to my right, I caught a glimpse of my mother. Ooh. Talk to Vina. People will always ruin their lives with high drugs if they really want, or heavy drugs. Yes, though it is worth noting, you can even ruin your life with, not so heavy drugs. I'll speak from experience. I'm trying to cut back on how much I use, because it's not been great for me. There's some benefits. I think weed actually changes the way that you think in potentially positive ways. So in moderation, it's a good thing, but, it can be a form of escapism, as can any drug, but... Oh, sorry, good luck to you. Thank you, I really do appreciate that. I made my way to the stone arch and sat down next to my daughter. Oh, hello, father. Good to see you outside of the council chambers. Do you have any questions about the past few meetings? I have plenty, but I'll figure them out on my own time. All of this council stuff is old hat for you, isn't it? You've even served with some of the same people before. I was naive back then. Now I don't know whom I can trust. You can always trust me, father. What do you think of the House of Delegates? Will you go talk to them? Let me confirm who they are. Official legislative body, founded by decree of Taurus. Right, they're the Royal Council, and it's the Regent People's Party and the National Coalition. Yeah, okay. Of course I will. They're the best hope we have for giving regions an actual voice. Any good monarch listens to the will of the people. Queen Lyja said that. A good monarch listens. A great monarch acts. Lyja acted too. A clock chimed in the distance. It was time for the meeting. Lead the way, Your Highness. As Vienna and I walked into the council chambers, we found the other councillors already there, deep in conversation. A superpower suddenly taking an interest in this part of the continent. What's next? All of our children will have to learn Arcasian. The decision wasn't made with any ill intent towards Rizia. There are greater global forces at work than what's happening in our corner of South Mercopa. What the superpowers decide affect us, Mr. Escobar. Their intent is of no importance. Care to catch me up? The three of them noticed me and fell silent. Excuse us, Your Majesty. We were just discussing the recent news concerning Lesbia's membership in the ATO. We don't know anything about the situation yet. We'll have to wait and see what happens. A reasonable response, Your Majesty. Respectfully, Your Grace, there's nothing reasonable about allowing Arcasia and its puppets to spread instability across the globe. What would you have us do, Duchess Cesaro? We're on shaky enough ground with Lesbia as it is. Of course, we should, act sensibly, but we need to show the Republic and its new friends that Rizia can hold its own. Lorento, what are our current relations with Lesbia? I would categorize them as neutral but frosty, Your Majesty. Queen Lyja's diplomacy kept us on good terms with Lesbia for a time after their transition to democracy, but things were beginning to sour before the Pales conflict. We still maintain embassies in each other's countries, but I haven't met with their foreign ministry since before the election of their new Prime Minister, Alvarez. Miss Werner, will this new alliance have economic implications? I'm sure it will, Your Majesty. Our most significant economic relationship with Lesbia is our partnership in the Meftium International Trade Zone. Having Arcasia behind them might well embolden Lesbia to push for a larger share in the MITZ, but they'd also have Vagslan and Morella to contend with. Lesbia is using Arcasia's backing to strengthen its economic ties with Pales, could also have negative ramifications, especially when it comes to the new gas field. Hugo, does this development pose a threat to the region monarchy? Not an immediate one, Your Majesty, but we must be watchful. We have seen Arcasian-backed revolutions succeed in Rika and Gina, and we do suspect the assassins were communicating with Arcasia prior to the 1926 uprising. Kina's ATO membership was already a cause for concern 5 years ago. With Lesbia in the alliance as well, Arcasia's influence is present to both our north and our south. There's great potential for destabilization. On the other hand, Your Grace, Arcasia has friendly ties with at least one monarchy. You may recall that President Dwight Walker actually boasts Rumburgian heritage. What are the security implications of this alliance, Duchess? We can definitely expect Arcasian military to increase their presence in Lesbia. That's a good point. We might have to beef up our military a bit more. Lesbia already houses Arcasian military personnel. Air and naval bases cannot be far behind. I can't say for certain that all the firepower will be directed against us in case of conflict, but it does enhance the threat that Lesbia, and yes, potentially Pales, poses to our kingdom. Alright, what do you all think I should do? Everyone began talking at once. Hugo motioned for silence. In my view, Rizia should bolster our alliances with our fellow monarchies, like Rumburg and the rest of the Guild of Royal Allies for commercial exchange. Building stronger bonds with them will not only enrich us, but will counterbalance ATO's democratic influence. This is true, but we can't rely on Grace to come to our aid in a conflict. For that, we will need to build up our military and defense capabilities. I'd say it's more crucial to form new trade relationships with other neighbors. If Lesbia becomes even more of an economic juggernaut in our region, it'll upset the balance of power. And I don't think we should ignore the opportunity to thaw our relationship with Lesbia itself. I, for one, would rather handle them as a friend than a foe. Oh, I didn't even realize the Grand Wiseman was here. I'd like to get a full picture of Rizia's geopolitical situation before offering my own opinion. Certainly, Your Majesty. That's what today is for. Lorento walked to the chamber's back wall and pulled down a map of southeastern Makopa. What should we discuss first? What's going on in Sordland? I'll save that for last, because we actually... Wait, no. No, this is before the election. We actually don't know. Isn't Pales the topic of the day? I was just about to bring up the Grand Duchy. Your father confided in me about your meeting with Duke Reinhardt, but he never told me what came of it. He wanted renewed relations between Rizia and Pales, as do I. It's refreshing to hear you say that. I myself advised your father to speak with the new Duke of Pales, to no avail, of course. Compared to his brother Noma, Axel Reinhardt seems far more amenable to a thaw between our countries. He wasn't even born when Rizia and Pales were fighting, and I suspect he is beginning to see the disadvantages of staying connected to Lesbia. Tell me more about the current relationship between Pales and Lesbia. The Grand Duchy has been heavily dependent on the Republic of Lesbia since the 1920s, Your Majesty. Our northern neighbor has taken extensive advantage of the natural gas reserves off the southern Pelesian coast. Our southern neighbors taken massive advantage of the gas reserves. So if we provide them more gas than Lesbia does, then we can get our influence up in there. Okay, good to know. Lesbia has also relocated a number of its major corporations to Pales in exchange for extremely generous tax breaks. In addition to the resulting income, Pales has access to Lesbian technology and military equipment, which at the moment surpasses our own. Pales still has a region-speaking population, yes. How influential are they? They are a minority, but a vocal one. They believe in the preservation of the region language, but they still consider themselves Pelesian at heart. Duke Noma proposed region ban was a bridge too far for them. They seem to heavily favor his brother. Oh, sorry. Duke Nolma's proposed region ban was a bridge too far for them. They seem to heavily favor his brother. Where's Vagsland in all this? Does Pales have any relationship with the Republic? Not a friendly one. Most Valgish Pelesians were and still are vehemently against their ancestral homeland turning to socialism. In turn, the Republic of Vagsland has nothing to do with its former colony since the Reinhardt's decision to seek protection from Lesbia. Back in the 1920s, there were a few attempts at marshalling support for a Vagslandian socialist revolution in the Grand Duchy. None bore fruit. I'm beginning to get a good grasp of the situation there. Are you leaning towards any particular diplomatic strategy regarding Pales, Your Majesty? Oh, okay. Here's a decision. All right. These are all interesting options. I'm leaning towards 2 or 4. 1 or 2. I bear no ill will towards Pales. You're right that a close relationship would be advantageous. Or 4. We should play on the sympathies of the region-speaking segment of the population, sway them over to our side. While that is a good idea, I think we get both of those if we go with number 2. I bear no ill will towards Pales. You're right that a closer relationship would be advantageous. I think that's a good option. Because Axel Reinhardt is already, willing to thaw relations with us. So that could be good for us. I bear no ill will towards Pales. You're right that a closer relationship would be advantageous. Lorento nodded. It will, Your Majesty, especially if we need to negotiate ownership of the gas field near Elena mentioned during her briefing. Yes, explorations are still ongoing, but there's a good indication that both Rizia and Pales could have a claim to the new resource. Shall I continue? We need to talk about Velen. Of course. Lorento rearranged some papers he was holding. Relations with our one-time allies have been turbulent at best since the Civil War. The international unpopularity of the current president, Victor Smolak, has only complicated matters. I think I'm mostly leaning on 3. I mean, if Velen is... Uh... If we could make a good deal with them, then there's something to be said. But I don't know. It's not a good look for us to remain linked to them. Rumberg in particular has been vocal about ending the Smolak regime, but as long as Velen still holds Gilles, diplomacy is key. Considering the state of Gilles, since it landed in Velen's hands, I see no point in remaining diplomatic. Have you been there lately? It's an industrial wasteland. Some argue Velen did little but accelerate the development that was already occurring in the region prior to the handover. Either way, Velen's access to Gilles' land and resources helped them bring it out of recession after the war. Smolak will have difficulty letting go of such a valuable asset. Can we count on him to honor the terms of the treaty? Smolak is not as weak as he seems. It will take a great deal of time and effort before our firepower matches his. He may act bold. Currently, the Foreign Ministry is working in close cooperation with us, and President Smolak has promised to honor the treaty. Okay, that's good. In the meantime, any perceived aggression on our part may only give an excuse to break it. Noted. Can the international community be relied on to intervene if Smolak breaks the pact? Given how many countries depend on Vejek oil, either directly or indirectly, I wouldn't be so sure about that. The funding Velen has received from United Contana may also have Smolak believing he can act with impunity. I see. What about the people of Gilles? Surely they can't wait for the land to be returned to Rizia? Half the country's native region population fled during the Civil War, like the Queen Mother's parents, I recall. Among those who were stubborn enough to stay, opinion is divided. We have to remember this has been almost 25 years. I will act diplomatically with President Smolak. We can sweeten the deal if necessary. I will appease him until we get Seal back. Smolak's current focus is on eradicating terrorism by the Bloods, a Golkondist ethnic group native to Velen and Swordland. He's been very vocal about his desire for cooperation on that front. I don't want to cooperate him on that. I didn't as Swordland. I don't want to with I don't want to as Rizia. Not all Bloods are terrorists, Your Grace. So Mr. Smolak has been particularly interested in the separatist group known as the Bloods Freedom Front, who have been rumored to be receiving support from none other than Rumberg. I would advise against getting involved with the BFF, but Velen's isolation within Mercopa could be a strategic advantage on our end. For all his posturing, I believe Victor Smolak truly wants Rizia as an ally. Moving on then. When is my next diplomatic visit to Velen? As a matter of fact, you're slated for a trip to Zeal at the end of the year, for the second to last Vejek Region Friendship Day. What's that? Friendship Day is the celebration that's been held in Gilles each year since the treaty was signed. Since Smolak took over, he's used the equation to trot out all the shiny new tanks Velen's oil money and Contanan funding has brought him. Your presence will at the very least remind him of the occupation's temporary nature. I'll talk to him. Maybe we can come to a productive agreement. An admirable impulse, but this is unfortunately only a ceremony, not a diplomatic talk. For now, I propose we move on with our briefing. I haven't heard much about the countries of the former Empire of Meridia. Do you want to discuss Morella or Durgia? Durgia. Ah yes, the only fully Golkondist nation in this world. Interesting. I didn't actually know that. Our relations with them have become strained since the country's conversion to theocracy. They're a theocracy. Well, that's bold. However, we still maintain a number of cooperative agreements, including our acceptance of Georgian migrants as labor hands. I must say that their Supreme Wiseman, Morgna Asmal, did not approve of our ban on Golconda's pilgrims to region holy sites. Yes, His Majesty and I discussed the ban prior to our ceremony in Plavo. If the ban is harming our relations with Durgia, perhaps it should be reconsidered. I would not be opposed to replacing the Golcondas ban with one on, say, Desnurists. That's not what I meant. They may have strayed, gentlemen, but Golcondas and Desnurists are both our brethren. I'm merely worried that the growing number of Golcondas visitors at a site like Plavo, and their rather physical interpretation of our religion, were alienating the true Virgist believers. I want to point out that our stance on Durgian Golcondas is far gentler than Morella's. Yes, Morella hasn't allowed Durgians of any kind into the country since the Meftium invasion of 1950, though the Durgians most certainly have tried. How are Durgian migrants reaching Rizia? Mostly by boat across the Gulf of Murdian. Oh, sorry about that. Though some are trafficked across the border and others fight their way in. Say what you will about the Durgians' belief, you can't argue with their weaponry. It's part of their warrior culture, Duchess. Their practice is centered on martial discipline and physical strength. Can Durgia be bargained with? Everyone can be bargained with, Your Majesty. Like Victor Smollett, Mr. Asmal may be looking for a way to end his country's geopolitical isolation. That's good. Okay, we have a lot of inns here. We have a lot of inns. I should mention that the Durgians' isolation is partially self-imposed. They are suspicious of nations that do not share their particular values. Among other things, these include a hardline stance on drugs and alcohol. I'm curious. I'm not going to be making our drug policies more strict, but I am curious about this answer. Are Rija's current drug laws strict enough for their liking? Yes, barely. If we wish to pursue diplomatic ties with Durgia, we should refrain from relaxing them. Interesting. I don't like that. I would rather relax them, but... I agree that allowing more drugs in the country is a bad idea, but we shouldn't let Golconda's whims dictate our internal policy. As for Morella, you've already heard about their new left-wing ruling coalition, correct? Please enlighten me. After years of infighting, the country's left-leaning parties miraculously unified in time to win this year's elections. The politician who managed this feat is now Morella's new prime minister, Alma Sultana, or as she might prefer it, Comrade Alma Sultana. Hugo grimaced. Lesbian ATO are enough of a threat without the millennialists knocking at our back door. As long as we remain on good terms with Morella, I don't care about the country's political leanings. Their leanings do affect our relationship, Your Majesty. Well, fair enough. That's not what I meant by that statement, but yes, she is correct. Correct, Elena. Morella doesn't stand a chance of entering the Continental Security Pact now with its current levels of poverty. But there are rumors that Prime Minister Sultana has been arranging meetings with Vaxlandian Chancellor Emmerich Hegel. Can Morella be swayed away from Valkish influence? It's possible, but we'd have to have something to offer. So far, our trade relations with Morella have not been affected, nor has our partnership in the International Trade Zone. Morella and Vaxland teaming up in that arena could potentially be far more of a concern than Lesbia. What's going on in Swortland? Now that the colonel has decided to retire, you mean? His successor, Evald Alfonso, from everything I've heard, he's Sol's exact opposite. What does that mean? Thinks sweeping privatization and tax cuts. Sol has forced him out of power, more women in prominent positions, although he has yet to pass the kind of liberatory reforms their beloved Lyja did. Speaking of Lyja, she's the one who first opened trade negotiations with Swortland back when it was still a kingdom, but Sol's disdain for the monarchy kept us from continuing down that path. The Alfonso administration, meanwhile, has no such qualms about royalty. In fact, in his new development, Minister Gus Manger has already had personal business dealings in Rizia. Our friend Mr. Montaro of the Regent Royal Gold has been making overtures to the Solish oligarchy. It seems birds of crassly ostentatious plumage flock together. Alright. I'm not sure if I trust either Alfonso or his minister, but I'm open to proposals. It would be a feat to repair our ties with Sorlin. Perhaps the glory days of Lyja are not lost after all. I'll contact you once Alfonso has agreed on a date for his visit. Oh, I'll get to speak with Alfonso. Well, that's interesting. That's everything, isn't it, Mr. Escobar? Lorento turned away from the map towards me. There's one more country we haven't discussed. Rumburg. Please, continue. For the moment, Queen Beatrice and her country are firmly allied with Rizia. Miss Werner already mentioned the large amounts of gold we export to the country through their strategic port, Grimm. We're selling them gold, okay. We also have a deal allowing Rumburg's ships priority access to our ports in Port de Drazon and Monkeys. We are, in essence, their gateway to the Adtasian Sea. Militarily speaking, the alliance doesn't amount to much. Rumburg will supply us with arms in case of war, but neither of our countries are officially obligated to come to each other's aid. Does Rumburg want anything else from us? Maybe not from us, but the country's energy needs are insatiable. The Queen's interested in any country with oil or natural gas resources. That's why she's after Swordland. In other words, if we do start drilling in that new field off of Als, I expect Her Excellency will soon come calling. Hey, Chris, how are you? That's presumptuous of her. There are plenty of other potential uses for the gas. True, both Morel and Durgia are struggling to meet their own energy needs. Okay, so we'll sell it to them. I will remind the Council of our prior conversation regarding the ATO and the necessity of strengthening our bond with other monarchies, especially Rumburg. Good, thanks. How's the stream? It's been going very well so far. I'm very much enjoying playing this for the first time live. Fortunately, we have living evidence of that bond right here at this table. Wait, I remind the Council of our prior conversation regarding ATO, strengthening of bonds. Fortunately, we have living evidence. Oh, yes. All eyes turned to Vina. She looked up from the notes she'd been taking. Ah, yes. Don't worry. Aunt B still dotes on me. I'm like the daughter she never had. Good. See to it that you remain in Her Excellency's good graces. Queen remains amicable towards me. The Queen remains amicable towards me. She recognizes how I managed to live alongside Lena. Vina pressed her pencil down on her notebook so hard that it broke with an audible snap. Ooh. Sorry. Sorry. Hugo glanced at the clock. Before we conclude, there is still the matter of His Majesty's stance on Lesbia's ATO membership. Do you have any further thoughts on that? My counselors looked at me in expectation. Oh boy, here's a big decision. Okay. A lot of options here. Okay, 5 sounds nice in theory, but we can't have a tossy turny decision on this. We have to make a point. We can't be wishy-washy here. Okay, Hugo has the right idea. Aligning more closely with Rumburg and Grace will protect us from Cage's growing sphere of influence. I don't like that idea. I like Elena's suggestion. Sealing new economic pacts with other Mercopan countries will help us become a regional power. I like that a bit better. I agree with Lucita. We cannot look weak in Lesbia and Bagazan's eyes. Our military intelligence should be our #1 focus. Lorento, you're right. That would behoove us to go closer to Lesbia. All my homies hate Hugo. I don't like him either, to be honest. I actually don't like him either. I I like Elena's suggestion. Sealing new economic pacts with other Mercopan countries help us become a regional power in our own right. Because, I mean, look, we could capitulate to the wills of Lesbia or Grace. Because, like, Hugo is more interested in strengthening the monarchy, which I guess makes sense in theory. But in practice, we're in a good position to become a regional powerhouse, especially with the increase, drilling for energy and the dam construction. However, yeah, no, we're either strengthening our military, and I don't think that's not what we're going for here. Yeah, no, we're going for the economic pacts. We start drilling more, we'll start increasing trade with other Mercopan countries, and we become a strong power in our own right. We don't need Grace. So I like Elena's suggestion. Sealing new economic pacts with other Mercopan countries will help us become a regional power in our own right. Correct, Your Majesty. I think the Swordland deal has particularly high potential. I'm intrigued, Miss Werner. I thought, though I still believe our most important economic relationship is with Runeberg. I don't think so. I did have one more proposition before we adjourn. One fairly risk-free way to increase our geopolitical footprint without losing any country's favors to expand Rigia's soft power. I like where this is going. We have also spoken about the needs to stoke pro-region sympathies in both Gila and Pales. I therefore suggest funding branches of the Ariana Taurus Association in both those regions. I like that. What does the ATA do? It is a government-funded organization that promotes region culture abroad, so increasing our soft power through culture. I like that idea. So for a bit of clarification, the idea of expanding our cultural influence is basically by, instead of exporting, oil or, trade or other things, we literally try to push our culture, not push our culture, but promote our culture in other regions, whether that literally be through sending people over there or through films, media, anything of the sort, really. So this is a very interesting idea. It's currently active in Runeberg and a few other Grace members. Its satellites organize region language classes, concerts, art exhibitions, traditional festivals. I myself volunteered with the ATA as an ambassador for a time. I can vouch for its integrity. How do you think it would be helpful in Zeal? If I may, Your Majesty, there are children Vina's age in Zeal who have spent their whole lives believing they are Vezhek. He shuddered quietly. If the handover goes as planned, we'll need to remind Zeal citizens of their true heritage. And if not, we'll need as many region sympathizers on the inside as we can get. Why would there be a need for it in Pales? If you truly intend to reconcile with Pales, strengthening the pro-region sympathies of the population is a good start. I agree. It's also a failsafe in case reconciliation doesn't work out. The more Pelesians like us, the less inclined they'll be to attack us. Good point. I can see the use for such a program, but do we have the budget for it? Amara says hi, by the way. Hi, Amara. We do, but expanding ATA into both Gila and Pales will be costly indeed. I like the idea. It could even give us an edge in upcoming trade deals, but I'll advise you to choose between the two regions. Oh, we have to choose. I hope you both are enjoying the stream, by the way. Let me think. Okay, so there's this. These are both the no options. It's the straight no and the diplomatic no. But I honestly think we should do both. I like the idea. It could even give us an edge in upcoming trade deals, but I advise you to choose between the regions. I actually don't think I want to choose here. I think I want to go for both. It's costly, but if we do it in both the countries, both of them will be way more amicable towards us. Always. Mara's smoking a cig assist. It's always, though. Yeah, fair. That sounds about right. I think I want to go for both. I think authority is the limiting resource here, not... Yeah, -2 per turn from power projection. I think we can save the economy. I think we can do more with the economy in other ways. I think going for more soft power is the choice here. Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. There's no need for frugality. Let's expand the ATA into both Aegea and Pales. There's a sharp intake of a breath from Elena. Very well, Your Majesty. I'll allocate the funds. Run it. Good work today, everyone. I think it's time we adjourned. Excellent idea, Your Majesty. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope I haven't been too much of a bore. Not at all, Mr. Escabal. I've always enjoyed sharing your expertise. Anytime, Your Majesty. He rolled the map back up and collected his belongings. I walked out of the chambers, glad to be done for the day. Okay, that was very productive. Oh, God, what's happening here? All right, let's see. Unequal treatment of foreigners. That's amazing. You said run it. See, I know. We may be across the screen, but I know. Unequal treatment of foreigners. Okay, that's not great. Worsening housing crisis. Oh, we do have that region housing for the poor initiative. That could be good. ATA operations in Pales and Zeal. Good. Okay. Rufus Grag's royal gossip. Ball season begins. The princess has a right to attend council meetings, of course, but it's also a right to see her in a poofy gown and speculate widely about her love life. Free Vina, I say. Non-aligned movement in an AN group grows. Okay. Confederacy of Vedonsam faces democratic forces. Always listening, I see. Yes, of course. Of course I listen to you guys. Okay. Rifle production halted in Fulcidator after accident. Ah, shit. A machine at the Fulcidator rifle plant has experienced a malfunction, stalling weapons production for the next week. The cause is being looked into, but the plant manager indicates ongoing labor shortage. Fewer workers. That's not great. Source delegation to visit Port Drazon. That could be good. Excavation promised touristic and cultural renaissance. Good. Very good. Okay. Wait, what's this? Include Elena in trade talks. Oh. The Source delegation is expected to bring up the reopening of Sordish region trade relations during the upcoming visit. While Treasury Council Elena Werner would normally be present for such a discussion, Development Minister Gus Manger has requested to speak with the king alone. Ooh. Ooh, that's interesting. Why is that? Okay, do I want to stand firm here and include her and her expertise? Because there's a lot of information that she can tell me that I don't know. Wait, yeah. No, he's definitely trying to isolate me with information I don't know. You tell me. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, I think he's trying to isolate me by withholding information that I don't know as the king, but that Elena would know as the treasury secretary. So I think I'm going to include Elena, even though it might be a stronger move, like, you know, diplomatically a stronger position to have her stay behind and take the meeting directly. I think including Elena is the right choice here. Because again, she knows stuff that I don't. So yeah, include her. Federation of Anrika bolsters trade ties with Ostiok and Nalipurna. I haven't heard of them before. Okay. Let's take a look. Okay, we're not increasing conscription, but enact inheritance tax. That could be... Oh, God, that's a lot of authority. Okay, maybe not. Landowners tax. Non-Verish religion tax. That's not good. I don't like that. Oh, right, we have a max on energy, 25. Okay, so we have plenty of time for that. Construction, trade, welfare. Military equipment factory. God, this is way harder than the original game. So much more to consider. I think I want to... I might want to increase gas construction. Yeah, if we want to trade more gas with Morella and Durgia, then the best option here I think would be increasing the increasing our production in the offshore gas field. Right? Starting a pivotal expansion of offshore gas operations in the Escaris Sea region, the kingdom will be heavily reinforcing its energy security and carving a productive pathway for the production of gas in national waters. The decisive initiative will elevate the depletion of the field, ensuring a robust energy output that substantiates our national and international energy commitments. The older, lower-yield extraction operations will cease to exist. 1 authority, 3 budget, 3 construction, plus 2 energy per turn on completion. Either that, or I can wait for the dam to be done and get the energy that way and just sell the excess gas. Ah, here we go. Escar's gas field reserves alert. Shit. Okay, hang on. Ah, okay. The iconic Escar's gas field is a beacon of Rija's energy prowess. In 1921 is sending distress signals. Recent reports indicate dwindling reserves at an alarming rate. While it has been a consistent contributor to Rija's energy matrix, its operational future now seems precarious. Without immediate and targeted surveys, followed by potential offshore excavations, the gas field is projected to cease operations in the coming years. -1 energy per turn in future. The kingdom will find a solution by decree. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to do that. Okay, wait, hang on. Where's the option? Construction. Expansion of Escarus gas field. Yeah, you know what? I think we're just going to do this. -1 authority. Not bad at all. 3 budget. That's expensive, but it'll get us money long term. 3 turn construction and +2. Why is that red? Oh, wait, no, that's not red. I'm just blind. Yeah, let's do it. All right. Now we are broke. Hooray. Let's see. Trade. A large energy sale could be really good right now. Or a medium one. 2 energy, 1 budget. 3 energy, 2 budget. Welfare. Oh, remove Golconda's blasphemy law. Oh, no one likes this except one of them. Embarking on a path towards spiritual inclusivity, the kingdom is granting Golcondas unrestricted access to pivotal religious sites such as the Archsanctuaries of Plavo, Benyavon, and Halles. While this shift is likely to be welcomed by Durgia and the Golcondas dwelling in Rizia, it simultaneously carries the potential to stir concerns within Desnurist and mainstream Rizist communities. Moreover, diplomatic waves may reach Velen, which might view this policy change with skepticism or apprehension, possibly influencing bilateral relations. 1 authority, 1 budget for the Housing for the Poor initiative. Okay, I think I want to do both of these to solve both the housing crisis and the work problems, because we're currently dealing with a shortage. Residence and work permits and permanent work permits. What's the difference, actually? A new framework for granting residence and work permits for migrants has been established, designed to streamline the application progress and support our labor market needs. Program will facilitate the entry and integration of skilled migrants into the workforce. the need for external talent and the protection of domestic labor markets. Or permanent work permits for labor hands. In a move to bolster the labor force within critical industry sectors, Kingdom promotes extending permanent work permits to labor hands from Velen and Durgia. Oh, acknowledging their significant contributions, particularly in mining, gas, and manufacturing industries since the 30s. This decree will not only aim to solidify their position in Rija's economic framework, but also safeguard their expertise within these pivotal areas. Fortifies the workforce, the kingdom must navigate the intricacies of additional costs, ensuring the well-being and integration of these labor communities without disturbing the existing socio-cultural equilibrium. Whew. That was a lot of words. Jesus. Okay. To budget, to authority. How much authority do I need from medium? That gets us to budget. That's not bad at all. Or I can sell some tanks. Ooh, that's a lot of tanks. Not a bad move. And to defense ties with allied nations, the sales will adhere to international arms export policies and strategic geopolitical considerations. Or we can do more energy. With a measured release of surplus energy at the global market, Rija aims to ensure it's beneficial, may a type grip and domestic. Yeah, I think we'll sell a bit more energy here. And do permanent work permits for labor hands. -2 authority, -2 budget, -1 budget for turn. We'll do that. And I like the housing for the poor initiative. That'll help us with another one of those situations. Permanent work permits for labor hands. Rigid energy economy. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Raise base income tax. I don't like that at all. Landowners tax. That's only a short-term thing. I only have 1 authority left. Housing for the poor could also be really good. Okay. Okay. You know what? We'll leave it there for now. Heavy industry park. I like a lot of these. Tank factory. We could just start selling a shit ton of tanks. That could be cool. Okay. We'll hold off. We'll hold off for a little bit. Do I start training people? No. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. It doesn't tell me how much I get per turn for manpower and other units, which is a bit concerning. Ah, shit. Not what I meant to do. Labor hands legalized. Is it good for Rija? Energy exports set to increase. King envisions greater gas export. Escris field to provide. Good. That's exactly what I was going for, actually. All right. A visit from the Swordland trade delegation. Oh, excuse me. The royal yacht Rijanya smoothly cleaved through the waters of Zbana River Delta. I stood on the deck next to Evald Alfonso, president of Swordland. After hours of diplomatic formalities in Palace Regina, the sea breeze felt amazing. Alfonso removed his jacket and looked up admiringly at the wide cable bridge that connected Port Drazon's two halves. What a great idea this boat tour was. It would have been a pity to spend our entire visit trapped in a stuffy old palace. He rushed to correct himself. A beautiful, elegant old palace, Your Majesty. The ship's horn let out a blast as we passed beneath the bridge. Show Alfonso the new town. I directed the storage president's attention to the glass skyscrapers of the new town, where Regis banks and major corporations were headquartered. See, this is what I like about your country. You're not afraid of the future. I'm not one to look backwards. Neither are you, I hear. I owe a lot to Colonel Sol, but it's high time Swordland moved on. The Colonel was no great fan of monarchies, as you'll recall. Me, I'm more flexible. Countries with differing politics can still find common ground. Exactly. Gus Major emerged from the ship's cabin, clutching a bottle and grinning triumphantly. Hi again, Gus. Evald, they have it. I tried Cantuavo exactly once, from a Parisian chef in Holzord, who smuggled it over his steamer trunk. Haven't stopped thinking about it ever since. He turned to me apologetically. Our mutual friend Rossello mentioned your yacht had an excellent wine cellar, and, well, I couldn't help myself. A man of exquisite taste. I like you already. A toast to exquisite taste, then. Butler? Pabel smoothly appeared from behind with 3 glasses. Gus handed him the bottle. Excellent choice, Mr. Major. Please, allow me. He filled the glasses and handed one to each of us. This should taste of cherry and black pepper with a faint hint of leather. We raised our glasses. A Morgna Wes Core. The 2 swordsmen smiled politely. We don't usually toast with that phrase, but nice pronunciation. Yes, well done. Vecton sista. I'll take it. That wasn't... I didn't think... I guess you don't toast with that phrase. Good to know, I guess. But, whatever. We drank. Gus sighed with pure pleasure. Alfonso's expression bordered on disbelief. All apologies to Geralta Ribery, but this is in fact the best wine I've ever tasted. I told you. I know certain Swordfish movers and shakers who'd kill to have access to a beverage of this caliber. Which brings me to the deal I suggested. Ah yes, the free trade of Regent wine for Swordfish whiskey. A good way as any to get our relations flowing again, if you'll pardon the pun. Swordfish whiskey. I'd have to taste it first. I was saving this until after dinner, but here you go. He opened his attaché and pulled out a bottle of Earlery Maroon 30-year-old. Our turn to be the connoisseurs, Your Majesty. Butler, 3 tumblers, no ice. Pavel approached with 3 glasses. I hope this is as good as you say. It's even better. Pavel poured us each a small amount of the amber-colored liquid. I'll do the toast this time. How do you people say it? Aprozo. We drank. The flavor rushed over my tongue. Wood smoke and forced moss tapering off to a sweet, silky, smooth finish. It's heavenly. Like tasting the very soul of Earlery itself. Last I saw, your treasury crone was in the... That's rude. Your treasury crone was in the cabin reading over the terms of the proposal. Shall we haul her up and hash this out? I think almost... yeah, no. Usually I'd just be like, yes, let's, but, like, don't call Miss Werner a crone. She's one of my most capable counselors. Alfonso gave Gus a look of warning. I apologize on behalf of my minister. I told him to leave his baser impulses at home. I assure you, Swordland is making progress on the status of women. Some of my most trusted ministers belong to the fairer sex. Pavel ducked into the ship's cabin and re-emerged with Elena. My treasury counselor looked slightly seasick. Pardon my absence, gentlemen. Despite my Valgish ancestry, I never warmed up to boat travel. The draft agreement seems sound, but I had a question about the section regarding quantities. I'm glad I brought her. I'm very glad I brought her. You're proposing an equal amount of wine and whiskey be traded per year, when more demand currently exists for the former than the latter. Is there another way we can rephrase this, Mr. President? Good catch, Miss Werner. We can change that section if you like, quantity subject to market demand. Demand in Rizia will skyrocket once Artillery Maroon hits the market. Trust me. So, is it a trade, Your Majesty? Yeah, definitely. Expect to see all our bars serving sourced whiskey by next year. Elena flipped open her ledger and made a quick note. Excellent, Your Majesty. Another reason for me to return to this gem of a country. The yacht lingered at the mouth of the Zipana Delta as the sun lowered in the sky, turning the water from turquoise to gold. As much as Swordland's most valued citizens would appreciate your wine, we believe there's something else they'd find even more stunning. He gestured at his surroundings, then down at the short-sleeved shirt he was wearing. Have you thought about Rija's untapped tourism potential, Your Majesty? Yes, many time. Our beaches put lesbians to shame, after all. They're true diamonds in the rough. I know that for a long time, international tourists stayed away from the Valencuris coast because of the delicate situation with Pales. He pronounced the last word as... Oh, I've been pronouncing it wrong. Palace, I guess. Is there a pronunciation here by any chance? I don't see one. Oh well. Palace. Palais, Mr. Major. Rhymes with ballet. Oh, sorry. I've never had the occasion to speak the name aloud. My point is that it might finally be time to bring your underdeveloped shores to life. I took the liberty of hiring a designer to draw this up. He reached inside his jacket pocket and pulled out a sheet of paper with a sketch on it. I recognized the beach it depicted. It was a picturesque sketch of sand and monkeys, not far from the palace where I'd grown up. Right on the coastline, the designer had placed a sprawling complex with a swimming pool and tennis courts. On it was a sign, Coranti Resort, Valencuris. Hello, Conrath Coranti. Ah, would that be the senior or the junior Coranti? I like that. Okay, wait. Underdeveloped shores to life, took the liberty of hiring a designer. Sketch of sand. On the coastline, a sprawling complex with a swimming pool and tennis courts. Would that be the senior or junior Coranti? You've done your research, I see. This is Marcel's initiative, along with certain other members of the Lothenburg group. Our partners are considering significant investment along the Valencuris coast. If all went well, the Coranti Resort would only be the first step. Alfonso swirled the last drops of whiskey around in his glass. I'm aware of how your nobles see Swordish oligarchs. I'm also aware that their world-renowned riches have diminished with each successive generation. Change is not merely inevitable, Your Majesty. It's the only way to preserve the lifestyle to which you're also accustomed. Your grandmother understood that. I'm aware of how your nobles see Swordish oligarchs. I'm also aware that their world-renowned riches have diminished with each successive generation. He's referring to the nobles. Change is not merely inevitable. It's the only way to preserve lifestyle to which you're also accustomed. Your grandmother understood that. We don't need Swordland's help to stay wealthy. We know you've got Queen Beatrice providing her protection. We just want to offer you some extra insurance. But we'll assume that's a no on the proposal then. Not so fast. Let me confer with Elena. Wait. As you wish, Your Majesty. The Sword's visitors waited outside as Elena and I walked into the cabin to talk. So, what do you think? If I may speak freely, I don't think it's a bad idea. Why not? You must remember that I'm from Valencaris. I grew up just minutes away from those beaches, but it wasn't until I became a counselor that I had the pull to bring my family there. The resort wouldn't just open up Valencaris coast to Swordland, it had opened up to the rest of Rizia. Shall we get back on deck? We shall. Thank you for sharing your opinion. We stepped back out into the waning sunlight and rejoined Alfonso and Gus Manger. Well, Your Majesty, are we making history today? You have a deal, but does the resort have to be as gaudy as the one in the picture? Ha, I'm sure our architects can come up with something a bit more subtle. In less than an hour, we've accomplished more for our countries than our predecessors managed in 30 years. Quite the feat indeed. I'd say that calls for celebration. Butler, another bottle? He's my butler, not yours. Pabel. Pabel reappeared, another bottle in his hand. He filled our glasses with a look of annoyance that only I could detect. Yeah. The yacht began to turn back towards Port Drazon as the sun disappeared over the horizon. Alright. That was successful. Probably pissed a lot of people off, but it was successful. We're out of money, though. Very much out of money. Here we go. RRG revenues. Regional Gold. MITZ revenues. 2 per turn from Grace Trade. 1 per turn from base income tax. Okay. Let's take a look at what we've got. Regional tourist destination. Country's popular tourist destination in the region. Boosts the economy and cultural exchanges. Though it still falls short of achieving a significant global tourist footprint. We can fix that. HOS resort deal. Agreement with tourist businessman Marcel Caranti to develop a luxury resort in Valencaris marks a notable economic venture. While it promotes tourism and economic benefits, there's negative social impact on the locals. That makes sense, but that makes sense. Good living standards. Basically needs like housing, healthcare, and education are well catered for, contributing to a stable society. Wait, what was the, there was another problem somewhere down the line. I think it was... Order... Wait, wasn't there a housing problem? Worsening housing crisis. Here it is. Unaffordable prices and a dire shortage of reasonable housing options. Increased homelessness. Huh. Trade deal with Swordland. Good. Very good. Rizia signs pair of historic deals with Swordland. Non-interventionism gains momentum. Swordland and Rizia reestablish ties. Good. Very good. Commission Taurus family statues. Ugh, really? I don't want to spend my money on this shit. Okay, whatever. Monkey's Ports reports ship logjam. Nearly 30 container ships were caught in a logjam by Port of Monkeys yesterday, many of them transporting goods to Runeberg's Port Grim. Officials say this highlights the need to upgrade the facilities and faster docking and processing. That makes sense, especially with the increase of Swordish tourism and export. Azaros rebuked for conducting military exercises close to Terrador border. Tezaros, Cordes Montclair. Shit. Palais, administrative district, labeling the drills unnecessarily provocative. Alca's Springs Leisure Club closed amid homosexual revelations. Police in Montclair conducted a raid of the so-called health retreat. Tip-off. During the unscheduled visit, several same-sex couples were indeed found to be engaging in illegal activity. Oh, no. Oh, that sucks. The raid, not the fact that there were gay people there. We don't need energy. At all, actually. We don't need to buy anything either. We do need more authority, though. Actually, maybe... 1 authority, 3 budget, 2 turn construction, 1 energy per turn on completion, 1 marine on completion, 1 military ship, and 1 submarine. It's a pretty good thing. People seem to like it. Council of Foreign Affairs, that'll help with Swordland. But we need 3 budget to do it. That will boost our tourism industry, though. That could be very good. How much authority do I need for that? There is also the industry park. That's something. Designed to bolster Rizia consumer goods sector, electronics and household appliances. Enhance industrial production and living standards. We need 2 authority, though, so we don't have any. Hmm. Two energy, 1 budget. 4 energy, 2 budget. I think I actually want to do the housing for the poor initiative. I think it's a good move here. Let's do it. Okay, sell a bit more energy. And housing for the poor initiative. Yeah. All right. Over time, I think the ATA will grant us significantly more authority. But... oh, well, not but on top of that, the Ija Dam and the gas field will do a lot more as well. Wait, where's the... oh, whatever. Deal with that later. We'll deal with all that later. Let's see. Conversation with Vina. Affordable housing initiative. Good. Wait, let's check this. Right to housing enshrined. Oh, that's what it was doing. Okay, cool. All right. It was low tide. The waves of the Antasian Sea lapped at the sands below the cliffs of Monkeys. A trail was carved into the cliffside just wide enough for a single horse, Vina. Just for a single horse. Vina picked up speed as she guided her mare, Lizzie, around a sharp curve. Go faster yourself. I urged my own horse on. She balked at the steep drop, slowing us down. Vina glanced back at me with a grin. Meet you at the beach. I watched her fly down the trail. She'd thrown herself into horseback riding after Lena died. We kept a few horses in Portrazon as well, but Lizzie was her favorite. I followed her at a leisurely pace, taking time to gaze back up the hills at Palas Monkeys, where Hubertus Torres governing the province from his own estate. I was free to visit my old home and its private beach anytime I liked. At the bottom of the trail, there was a sheltered cove where Pabella had laid out a picnic lunch. I dismounted and sat down next to Vina. You really didn't have to come back to Monkeys with me, Father. I wanted to. The council meetings don't exactly count as quality time together. Deciding the fate of the country together, that screams quality time to me. Keep up with that enthusiasm. It'll serve you well when you're older. She picked up a lobster salad sandwich from the picnic basket and nibbled at it. A solemn silence descended as we stared out the waves. 8 years since she died. When I'm here, it might as well have been yesterday. You almost died that day too, you know. Sometimes I wish I had. I can't even dip my toes in the water, or it'll all come rushing back. I looked out at the sea again. Let yourself remember. The memories rushed over me. The sickening sound the bow had made as its girders splintered, Vina calling out for her mother over and over until her voice finally gave out. My daughter's eyes as I told her she would never see Lena again. Worst of all, the secret relief I felt when the hospital ventilator beeped for the last time. A man in my position would be crying. I forced out a few tears. Vina appeared at a loss for words. She tentatively put a hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, Father. I didn't realize it was so fresh for you as well. Grief isn't a straight line, my daughter. It ebbs and flows like the tide. It's interesting that I didn't mean it to force out tears. Cause like, you know, even if the marriage wasn't good and wasn't what you want, it was an arranged marriage, by the way, it still would suck, you know? Like losing your child's mother on a shipping accident and having her almost die with her. That's hard. Grief isn't a straight line, my daughter. It ebbs and flows like the tide. It's always high tide for me. I'm not sure I even want to come up for air. She wiped her eyes. But you must be feeling the same way about Mother. Otherwise you would have remarried by now. 8 years and not so much as a date. Looking after you has been my #1 priority. You can't use that as an excuse for much longer. She nervously picked up a handful of sand and let it run through her fingers. So, if you were to meet someone, what if you had a son? Who would be your successor when you died? I still declare you next in line. Risha needs a queen like you, and the rules were meant to be broken. Or, you know what? What makes you think Risha will be ruled by a monarch by the time I die? Vina's eyes grew wide. You mean... It's time for the people of Risha to hold the real power, Vina. But what would become of us? We would still perform some important duties, but a democratically elected leader should do the real work of governing the country. I understand, I think. You know, Queen Liza likened the monarchy to a steady ship on a stormy ocean. We provide stability and comfort, even during the most unpredictable of times. It may be a steady ship, but it sails on the currents of privilege and tradition, not the winds of change and progress. That doesn't need to be the case. Monarchs have embraced change and progress in the past. The tide is beginning to lap at the edge of our blanket. We stood up and pulled it away from the water. Father, one more thing. What? It's just... Grandmother is always on about how I need to find the right husband. How important is it to you, really, whom I marry? Don't listen to that hypocrite. Grandma followed her heart, so should you. So you won't try to marry me off like your father did to you? Absolutely not. Arranged marriage is a barbaric tradition. You and Mother are living proof of that. We both loved you. And we both swore you'd never go through the same hell we did. She smiled. That means a lot, Father. And it's a decision I won't take lightly. She hopped astride Lizzie. Sorry to run, but one of the countesses from my school days has invited me for tea. She's just a few estates down the beach from here. Have fun. I'm glad we were able to talk. So am I. She rode away. The trip back up to the palace felt a lot longer than the way down. It was dusk by the time I'd returned the horse to the stables. I staggered through the doorway of Palace Monkeys, exhausted. Pebble swiftly took my coat. Back so soon? I hope I packed enough food for you. Where's the princess? She's visiting with a friend, but she wanted to thank you for lunch. Monkey's lobster. It's never so sweet as when it's fresh out of the water. There's a warm bath waiting for you upstairs in case you're sore from the ride. You read my mind, Pebble. All part of the job. I made my way to the Palace Monkey's master bathroom, where an enormous clawfoot tub was filled to the brim with soapy, eucalyptus-scented water. I undressed and got in. Have to give myself a bath? Sure. Scrubbed my right arm. The temperature was perfect. A tap came at the door, so soft I thought I was imagining it at first. Romus? Yes? May I come in? I forgot to leave you a towel. Alright, come in. The door slowly opened and Pebble entered, a fluffy towel in his arms. He hung it on a hook on the wall. I noticed an identical towel on the hook next to it. Is there another reason you wanted to come in? He took a step closer to the tub, contentiously keeping his eyes on the wall. Actually, there was something I wanted to bring up, without any guards around. Sounds serious. It might be, or it might not be. I'm not sure. There's a small stool next to the tub. He moved over to it and sat with his back to me. No need for modesty. Oh, pardon me. Pebble turned around, still taking care to only look at my face. He spoke the next words slowly. Listen, Rom. How much have they told you about your father's death? Not a lot. Do you suspect something? Well, this is what I know. Back when my dad was still alive, he showed me every single plant in the Palace Resna gardens. One of them was mandragora, big green leaves, pretty purple flowers. He told me that you can make an extract from its roots. A little bit helps you sleep. More than that causes delirium, and a lot stops your heart. I think I see where this is going. I know it seems preposterous, but when I attended to your father on his sick bed, he didn't seem like a man suffering from heart failure. He was in a complete daze, and he didn't even recognize me. After he died, I went out to the part of the gardens where my father had planted the mandragora. Nothing but a smooth patch of dirt. Could someone have slipped in his supper? Pebble grimaced. I was tasting all of His Majesty's food at the time, so whoever it was would have had to be very creative. Who was around the palace that night? The Queen Mother, obviously, Grand Wise Man Ignatius, Titus, and his men. Lucita Zoro was also in town, meeting with your uncle to discuss the interim security counselor position. So, quite the list, not including me, of course. When was the last time you saw the plants? A few months before that, maybe. I remember the flowers blooming. So yes, it's possible their disappearance had nothing to do with the king's death. If he was poisoned, the coroner would have caught it. Mandragora is a naturally occurring substance. It may not have raised a flag. Alright, let's say father was indeed poisoned. What would be the motivation? Well, we both know His Majesty had a long list of enemies, but the goals could have simply been to put you on the throne. Nobody wanted me to be king that badly. No matter what, I would urge you to look out for yourself. There were only a few people King Valero trusted by the end. If my suspicions are correct, it means one of them took advantage of that trust. And all of those people are still in your inner circle today. I see. I'm going to have to look into this further. Pavel nodded. What do you think I should do next? I wish I knew. Try to find as much as you can without raising suspicion, I guess. I'll keep an ear out myself. Palace gossip gets around. Trust me, old friend. Always have your back. Bimaravalu. Onogzitsulu. He finished the phrase with a gentle smile, then rose from his seat. I'll take my leave before your water gets too cold. Pavel? Your Majesty? I'm happy there's one member of my inner circle I can trust. He bowed his head in gratitude and quietly exited, leaving me to finish my bath. After a thorough soak, I dressed and headed to my study. I still had some work to do before the trip back. Okay. Good to know. So, the morning will come, victory. Oh, they have the slogans. Oh, that's so cool. People, justice, unity. Wait a minute. Superpower trade war. Oh, that's still going on. I didn't realize that. Huh. Preparations underway for the 24th annual Vejek Region Friendship Day. Our motorcade is slated to arrive at Smolak Square 135. Speeches, as well as a special surprise that President Smolak has yet to disclose. Later that afternoon, there will be an opportunity to discuss the impending transfer of the region. Okay. And what we've got here? Oh, just more trade stuff. Energy sale. Oh yeah, construction stuff. There's the military academy. Could be good. Support vehicle factory. Could be very good. Military equipment. I like the idea of a support equipment factory because, well, like it says here, whether for defense or humanitarian operations, they're a strong thing to have and also a really good resource to sell. So, it's something to think about. Walker Plan drives economic growth in Central Makopa, augments ATO's reach, ruin parliamentary faction, rumors in Rumburg, save the Arufeld. Coalition pleads for support. I see. Okay. Ooh. Revolutionary Millennialist propaganda ban. Books, magazines, pamphlets from millennialist countries such as Unikontana, Vagsland, and Gamland have been reaching our shores. These seemingly innocuous reading materials have potential to lead to a spread of socialist thought among the populace. I don't think it's necessary to deal with it. I mean, like, yeah, it would strengthen my position as, you know, monarch, but I don't think we should ban it. We don't want to make the media situation worse. Maybe I should have. All right, I'll read this. PM Alvarez warns not to underestimate millennialism. Latvia's Prime Minister Patricio Alvarez issued a strong warning following the increasing millennialist activity in the region. While not naming region by name, the PM said that certain countries are blind to the dangers of millennialism and its propaganda. Dangerous ideas like these should not be allowed to spread. I see. That's nice. All right. What does the Golden Guard want? Let's see. Private audience with the Golden Guard. The crisp morning air filled my lungs as I crossed the palace courtyard with Hugo. I was headed to a long overdue meeting with Titus regarding the Golden Guard, and my uncle had insisted on accompanying me. I'm glad you've arranged a formal meeting with Captain Gordian. There's much to be gained from fostering a robust relationship. Agreed. There are substantial benefits to strengthening ties between us. More than you know. I believe the Golden Guard possesses an untapped potential that would prove quite advantageous if the need arises. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Captain Gordian can tell you more. To be honest with me, Hugo, do you believe Gordian can be trusted? He is, without a doubt, one of the most trustworthy individuals in the entire kingdom. Then I look forward to getting to know him better today. It wasn't long before we'd crossed the courtyard and reached the armory, which also served as the Golden Guard's headquarters. As we approached, a pair of soldiers flanked on either side of the entrance greeted us with a formal salute. Salute back. For a high five. I saluted them in return. Hugo and I continued on our way. Upon entering the armory, I found myself surrounded by a collection of old weaponry and armor on display. The polished shields and rusted swords appeared frozen in time. We eventually reached a training facility where we found Captain Gordian in boxing gloves, sparring with another golden guardsman. My money's on Captain Gordian. What do you say? 50 guilder? No, my money is on Captain Gordian. You take the other man. Very well. The best man win. The two men circle each other for a while before exchanging swings. 3 rounds later, the captain had Hugo's guy in a tight spot. Your knee is starting to shake, Uncle. Never. Though I can't say the same about my confidence in my man. We continued watching the fight. Hugo's fighter landed a few more hits, but Captain Gordian ultimately came on top thanks to a swift punch to the jaw. And Titus has emerged victorious. Looks like I owe you. Don't worry about it. It was a lighthearted wager. Much appreciated. I watched as Captain Gordian helped the other man to his feet. You're wasting too much energy running around the ring. Next time. Your Majesty, many apologies. I didn't see you there. You're earlier than I expected. No need to apologize, just like in the ring, timing can be a challenge. Yes, very true, sir. I must say, that's quite the right hook you've got there. Courtesy of my former boxing days. Regardless, we should go. We've got plenty to talk about. Very good, sir. If you'll come with me, I can take you somewhere more secluded. Captain Gordian removed his boxing gloves as he headed towards an entrance to another wing of the armory. Well, Your Majesty, shall we? I believe the kind of trust you want me to build with the Golden Guard can only be established by meeting Titus one-on-one. Really? I mean, yes, of course. You can wait around here until my business is complete, but you're welcome to take your leave. Yes, understood. Hugo seemed to force a smile before bowing his head and turning away. I left my uncle and caught up to Captain Gordian as he stepped inside the building. Upon entering, I was once again enveloped by an array of antiquated weaponry and armor. Titus motioned towards the displays. I brought most of this out of storage soon after I took command. A considerable portion of what you see was in bad shape and required extensive refurbishment. I like what you've done with the place. You're more than welcome to visit any time. Not that you need an invitation. In any case, if you desire, I'd be honored to provide you with a background and history of anything here. Please, by all means. Excellent. Where would you like to start? Why don't you tell me about the sword? I motioned to a broadsword prominently displayed in the center of the room. Terrador's Fury. Its notoriety spans back several hundred years, just after the Emperor Valgo seized Pales from Rizia. Although we lost our most important port, we managed to keep our enemy from making further inroads into the kingdom at the Battle of Terrador. This sword is said to be the very weapon that severed the head of the commanding general of the Valgos army. A bad day for him, to put it lightly. If you'd like, Your Majesty, I can have the sword polished for ceremonial use. That would be great. Is there anything else you're curious about? Tell me about that impressive suit of armor. I pointed to an intricately adorned armor suit that stood out amongst the others. That would be the armor of King Henricus Taurus, the ancestor from whom all members of your house are descended. After securing power in Monkeys, his dynasty maintained a stronghold over the city-state through the Marchian era. Upon the foundation of the Kingdom of Rizia, they assumed control of the entire province of Ankers. But I'm sure you knew that already. Yes, but it's always good to refresh myself on our history. What else would you like to know? I'm curious to know about whatever that is. I gestured towards a metallic coffin-like contraption that stood upright. That would be Saint Mercy, our aptly named Iron Maiden, a torture device from a bygone era. It was last used on suspected spies during the War of Regent Succession. Blind with spikes on the inside, it was designed to inflict excruciating pain when closed. You'll be happy to know it hasn't been used in quite some time. Yes, most reassuring. Enhanced interrogation methods have come a long way in the past century. No need for metal spikes, unless you're a traditionalist. What else can I tell you about? Sorry. What else can I tell you about? Enough history. I'm ready to move on. Very well. This way, sir. We continue onward until we reach Captain Gordian's office on the far side of the hall. It too was adorned with a large collection of war memorabilia. Captain Gordian gestured to his sitting area. Please, have a seat. Sit. I sat on a nearby leather armchair. The captain took out a bottle of wine from the cabinet. Would you care for some fortified wine? It's an exceptional vintage dating back to 1893 from our very own Cantovo vineyards. Just a little bit. I've got to stay sharp for the rest of the day's activities. Of course. Captain Gordian uncorked the bottle and poured us each a glass. After putting away, he settled in a chair across from me. So, to what do I owe the pleasure of your visit? I'm looking to develop a clearer understanding of the individuals comprising my security detail, particularly the man who's leading them. Well, I'm more than happy to tell you about myself, though you might find hearing about the Golden Guard more interesting. Why don't you tell me about yourself? Well, I was born and raised in Potrazan. My father was in the military while my mother took care of me and my siblings. I had a fairly normal childhood until my father was killed during the operation to take back Pales. Pale. So much senseless bloodshed. May it never happen again. For what it's worth, he believed in the cause. He never turned against King Valero. Needless to say, his death brought about a long period of financial instability. My mother did what she could, but it wasn't enough. So, I put on a pair of gloves and entered the world of championship boxing to provide for my family. Well, that explains your fist cuffs from earlier. You fared well, I assume. Good enough to catch the eye of military recruiters. I do sometimes miss those days in the ring on occasion. But anyway, not long after my mother died, I worked my way up through the Golden Guard to the point where I was entrusted with leading their operations. Let's hear more about the Golden Guard. I'd be honored. As you already know, every man here is sworn an oath to protect the royal household. We answer to no one else but you. And I'm forever grateful. Please continue. Gladly. Aside from the general security, the Golden Guard has a long history of carrying out more private matters for the king. Private matters? How intriguing. Please elaborate. As in, offensive operations, if you get my meaning. Titus hesitated for a moment before continuing. The Golden Guard has had a long, rich history. Since our founding, we've engaged in espionage, apprehension, and eliminating threats to the crown. But in the wake of our revival, we have yet to involve ourselves in such affairs. Nevertheless, the chance to fully restore our actions remains open. I've heard the rumors of such clandestine actions, but this is the first time I've received official confirmation. Security is of the utmost importance to us, sir. Your comprehensive explanation is appreciated. I'm glad I could provide you with further insight. Is there anything else you'd like to know? Oh. Is it possible, hypothetically speaking, for the Golden Guard to support the Crown in a murder investigation? Titus didn't blink. If we were granted the resources, such an investigation would not be out of the question. Would you care to elaborate? Such an investigation might require conducting surveillance within palace walls. Understood. The guard would definitely be the best option for such a sensitive undertaking. Do you have eyes on me at all times, even during intimate moments? It is of our utmost aim to protect the royal family's security, while respecting your privacy. You can expect that we'll be watching you and your family members in public and standing guard outside any room you enter. But what you do in that room is no business of ours. Surely you must leave your post at some point. We keep a tight rotation. Sleep or awake, you will always be protected. What do you deem to be the biggest threat to my personal safety right now? Tez looked around, then turned back to me. Your government security forces seem to have a handle on the populace, but who has a handle on them? I don't want to overstep my bounds so early into my employ, but I do believe the Azaros could pose a threat. I share your suspicions. If you uncover even the slightest evidence that the family is plotting against me, I want to know. I'll try to keep a close eye on them with the limited resources the Golden Guard has been given. That will be all. Thank you. If there's anything else I can do for you, don't hesitate to ask. Thanks again for your hospitality. Titus gave a heartfelt bow and left my company. Navigating through the armory once more, I eventually found my uncle in the vicinity of Titus's boxing match. There you are. I trust your discussion with Titus was productive. Yes, very, though I'd rather not go into detail. Your discretion is duly noted. That said, for me to offer you the most effective counsel, I suggest providing me with such details in the future. Hugo and I said our goodbyes and parted ways. I still wasn't fully sold on whether or not Titus could be trusted, but I was satisfied knowing that my influence over him remained strong. For now. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Zaranists seek refuge in Ostioke and Nalaperuna. Nelvasar oil field ends production. The Nelvasar oil field in Brennis has been shut down following exhaustion of its reserves. Experts advise that our kingdom concentrate on its natural gas resources in order to fill the energy gap. Okay? Understood. So, we'll be getting 2 energy next turn, and hopefully more when the dam completes, and again, hopefully more when the Escris gas field finishes. We should do prospecting, though. I think that would be a good idea. Wait, how many rifles do they need? 300, 300. I'm cool with adding a lot more support divisions and building a support yard or construction facility, whatever. Hospital support vehicle factory. This would probably be on the docket, I think. Plus 75 support vehicles on turn, 1 energy per turn on completion, 2 turns construction, not bad at all. 3 budget, expensive. 2 authority, diplomatically expensive. Military equipment factory. Equipment, clothing, radios, boots. Not bad either. I like that too. Plus 75 support vehicles. Plus 500 military equipment. There's also consumer industry park. That's good. Is there anything more we can do with energy? It doesn't seem to be. It just seems to be the dam. Yeah, it just seems to be the dam and the gas field. Yeah, this is all buying and selling military equipment. Okay. Monkey's Port and Naval Shipyard expansion. That could be good. Industry Park, also really good. Numerous job opportunities. Foster technological advancements. Industrial prowess. Yeah, that could be really good. This could also be good with the trade with Swordland. Industry Park. Excavation. What's this? In homage to our ancestral heritage and to boost the tourism industry. Ooh, okay, boosting our tourism industry is good. Kingdom is launching an excavation and restoration project to resurrect the historical sites of Topaz, a landmark in the ancient Resinid Empire. With the city's excavation and restoration, we anticipate a renaissance of cultural pride, boosted tourism, and uplift in public sentiment. That's really good, actually. That's really good. Pale's Logistic Hub. That's just a military thing, right? Yeah. Yeah, defense network. That's not really necessary. Yeah, okay. I don't think there's any other energy options. Besides, of course, selling and buying it. Provide heating. Welfare privatization. Absolutely not. Energy storage. That's about it. Store surplus energy generated during peak production periods, preventing shortages during high demand. Help modernize energy infrastructure, promote efficient resources use, and reduce reliance on energy curtailment at capacity. We can still sell a lot of it. That's a big deal, too. Oh, tenant protection laws. That's cool. Okay. Okay, that's all. This is all good to know. So there's not much else we can do with the energy. That's actually not a bad thing because that means, well, we don't have to worry about that. But I think the Monkey's Port and Shipyard expansion could be really good. And yeah, 1 authority, 3 budget, 2 turn construction, 1 energy per turn on completion. And that could be really good. There's also the excavation of Top's Redsnid City, because that will bring in a lot more immigrants, and that will also increase our tourism potential and soft power. I'm really happy to have so many options here. I like this a lot. This has been fantastic so far. I really need to change my camera angle. Oh. Yeah, I should work on changing my setup a little bit in the future. It'd be nice to. Well, we continue on. The Vejek Region Friendship Day. Smolak Square. Shield. I couldn't tell you if the sky was growing darker or if it was just the tinted windows on the armored car. Our motorcade slowed as it approached the Gilles border. A concrete barrier rose up in front of us, its top strung with barbed wire. My mother had insisted on accompanying me to the Vejek Region Friendship Day festivities. She leaned against the window, uncharacteristically quiet. Are you alright, Mother? I'm absolutely fine, darling. Say, might we have time for a quick detour once we reach the town? Of course. She leaned forward and gave the driver an address. He nodded. At the border, we presented our identification documents and an official invitation from President Smolak. As we crossed, the road turned uneven. Promise me you'll get these highways back up and running once Zeal is returned? If Zeal is returned. Factory smokestacks rose up on either side of us. Through the haze, I spotted numerous shanty towers built over the past few years to house miners and refinery workers. We entered the city and drove through a maze of tenement buildings, their facades hastily repainted to hide the damage from the war 20 years ago. As my mother had instructed him to, the driver veered down a side street that led towards the coast. We stopped in front of a small wooden building with a collapsed roof. The front porch was partially buried in sand, jagged teeth of broken glass lined the window frames. They say you can't go home again. Rarely do they mean it this literally. She blinked back tears. I can't believe this is the same palace we used to go to every summer. She put a hand on my shoulder. I never brought my parents here after they fled to Rizia. I knew it would break their hearts. I wish they could have seen it one last time, the way it used to be. I thought back to my carefree summers in Zeal. My grandparents had spent the last 10 years of their lives in Palace Regina, surrounded by luxury, but they never seemed as happy as they did in this house. I'll have it fixed up one day. It'll be our summer house again. That ship has sailed, child. Just think. If I hadn't convinced Valero to get Velen involved in our affairs, none of this would have happened. She looked down at her hands. The Vejik president back then was such an upstanding man. How could I have known he'd go and get himself killed? It's not your fault. Father shivered and egged on the agreement immediately after the assassination. And made outright enemies with Velen while our own country was still weak? Don't be foolish. We both fell silence. After a few moments, she plastered a smile on her face. Enough dallying. Driver, step on it. We've got a date with a psychopath. We returned to the main road and drove towards Smolak Square. A circular plaza in the center of town had once been named after Duke Fedo Sazan. A silver-stretched limousine was parked just in front of the square. Our driver got out, stopped, and exited the car, flanked by our guards. Say what you will about Smolak, he never makes a dull entrance. A dozen uniformed soldiers hurriedly got into formation around us in the limo. The door opened, and Victor Smolak stepped out. Your Majesty King Romas, Queen Mother Estella. He made a sweeping, exaggerated bow and straightened up with a grin. Welcome to Velen. Please, make yourselves at home. Thank you, Mr. President. Who is this, Mr. President? Call me Victor. We're friends, right? Oh, who is this, Mr. President? Call me Victor. We're friends, right? He gestured out to the square where a colorful banner reading 24 years of Vejik region friendship hung above a trio of gleaming tanks. It's my first time at one of these ceremonies. What's going to happen? The usual. I make a speech, you make a speech, the press takes pictures, everyone goes home happy. Listen to the crowd, they're already happy. The square was surrounded by grandstands. One side was decorated in the colors of the Velen flag, the other in Rizia's, blue, orange, and gold. I heard loud cheers emanating from them. I've invited the finest representatives from both of our countries to join us for this special occasion. Follow me, if you will. A semicircular stage was set up in front of the tanks. The crowd roared as we crossed the square and made our way over to it. Looking up into the grandstands, I noticed armed guards standing on every level. A captive audience. That would explain the enthusiasm. Disgusting. This whole ceremony is a sham. My mother and I took our seats. Victor stepped up to the microphone. Vejiks, regions, people of Zeal. 24 years ago, the glorious country of Velen was given custody of this land, a great honor and a tremendous responsibility. Velen didn't only gain new territory that day, we gained new friends. He gestured meaningfully towards the region side of the stand. After a few seconds, they broke out in scattered applause. My mother muttered a harsh-sounding curse in Gilles dialect. No, I can't believe this guy. Together we have overcome war, repaired our economy, and made great strides in science and industry. Even the decision of the Taurus family to ally with Rumburg, a nation that obviously wishes Velen harm, could not diminish the beautiful bond we have formed. I look forward to strengthening that bond for many, many years to come. He stepped to the side and pulled a rope attached to a flagpole. A massive Vejik flag unfurled, then a much smaller region one. Ugh. Let him finish the speech. Today, I'm especially delighted to be blessed with the presence of Rizia's new king, as well as Queen Mother, of course. They are heirs to a long, proud legacy, one that would have been shattered had Velen and Rizia not made the faithful decision to work hand in hand. On that note, please give a warm welcome to King Romus Taurus. I stood up. The Rizian side of the stands immediately erupted into a loud, authentic-sounding applause. Brothers and sisters, you may not know it, but I am a grandson of Zeal. The Queen Mother and I have deep ties to this land. Today marks a chance to make a clean break with the past and begin looking towards the future. In 1 year, Rizia will assume governorship of Zeal, but I hope that will not mean an end to our country's friendly cooperation. I pledge to support regions and Vegeks alike through the upcoming peaceful transfer of power. Long live our friendship. Both sides of the stands applauded. Victor gave me an appraising glance and readjusted the microphone. What a speech. The king's got charisma. We have a terrific evening of entertainment lined up, but first we must commemorate this landmark meeting of world leaders with the traditional triple tank salute. There was a rumbling from behind us as the 3 tanks aimed their barrels into the air. My mother and I looked at each other. That's the first time I've heard of this tradition. A Victor Smolak special. Victor raised a finger up in the air. 1! The tank on the left fired, sending a plume of gold-colored smoke high over the stands. The crowd gasped in excitement. 2! The gun mounted to the tank and the gun went right off. Oh, right on the right went off. I thought it went blown up. This time the smoke was magenta. His count was interrupted by an unidentified voice in the distance shouting, "For the king!" Victor whipped his head around in shock, a frenzy looked in his eyes. I turned to my mother. Mother, what happened? I don't. A deafening blast, much louder than the two that had preceded it, echoed from the opposite end of the square. I turned towards the source of the sound and saw the Vegek side of the stand engulfed in flames. Shit, run towards the stands. I rushed towards the stands. Your Majesty, get down! Titus dove at me and tackled me to the ground. Screams of fear and confusion were rising up from all around. What's happening? A security breach, sir. Romus! My mother and Victor were still on the podium, surrounded by a thick cordon of Vegek guards. Get me over there, Titus. They'll be fine. We have to get you out of here. He and small scars exchanged a series of hand signals. The crowd had begun fleeing in every direction. Titus grabbed my arm and swiftly started ushering me away. I took one last look back. Smoke was now rising from the Vegek grandstand. Part of the structure had collapsed, and soldiers were working to free the people trapped underneath. The next few moments were a blur as we made our way through the panicked hordes of civilians. Victor's limo pulled up, and Titus roughly shoved me inside. Thank God you're safe. My mother's voice shook. She and Victor were sitting across from me, looking dazed. Are you hurt? Of course she isn't. It seemed like no region was harmed. Smolak had fire in his eyes. It's Sunday. I hate Sunday. I'm grown to like Sundays. It's the day I stream now. Smolak had fire in his eyes, but fair enough. I don't like Mondays, I'll say that much. If your people have anything to do with this, there will be a price to pay. He kept his eyes on me as the car began pulling away. Oh, it's the end. Preliminary report on Friendship Day bombing incident. Vegek Intelligence has released a thorough accounting of the events of Vegek Region Friendship Day. The explosion is said to have been caused by a detonation device planted under the grandstands and timed to go off during the afternoon celebrations. Part of the stands collapsed in the blast, killing 3 Vejik civilians and injuring further 14. Witnesses at the event heard the shouted phrase "for the king" prior to the blast, suggesting a political motivation and the involvement of pro-Rizia supporters. Velen's intelligence forces have indicated that the group Su Omina is under particular suspicion for the attack. Whoa. What a way to end this episode. Holy shit. King unharmed in Gilles bombing. Breaking news, an explosion has occurred in Gilles' Smolak Square, site of this year's Vejik Region Friendship Day festivities. King Romus and Queen Mother Estella, both in the attendance, managed to escape unharmed. The cause of the blast is still unclear. This was undoubtedly a malicious act. Expect more updates in the coming days as this incident is thoroughly investigated. Will Gilles incident disrupt fragile bond between Rizia and Velen? Huh. Well, shit. If Su Omina is actually suspected in the attack, that could be good for us. Because that would give us... I mean, this is awful, obviously. But, like, that would give us the ability and means to crack down against them. Meaning, we could improve our relationship with Velen if we were able to go against them directly. That's something to take into account. Well, we've made a great deal of progress this episode. We signed a few more degrees. We did the housing for the poor initiative. We've created permanent work permits for labor hands. We've done a few more energy sales, and we've started expanding the offshore gas field. So our energy economy is going to start looking really, really good in the future. I'm very much looking forward to that. Budget is also going to be looking good, and the soft power is going to be improving substantially with the ATA being formed. Let's see if I can find that actually. ATA. Yeah, Ariana Taurus Association. So we've set these up in both Gilles and Pales, so to improve our soft power in the region. So, yeah, I think with all that considered, we'll have a strong energy economy soon, leading to a strong economy overall, and improving our authority. So with the authority increase, we should be able to do a lot more and, you know, gain closer ties with our allies. This is fantastic. This game has been absolutely fantastic. I'm so happy to be playing this. Should we? No, I don't think we should be training more units. Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, this was an excellent episode. I am so happy to be playing this. This has been a lot of fun. I'm incredibly excited to see where this series takes us. Well, without further ado, thank you all so much for watching. This has been an incredible time. I appreciate all of you being here and all of you for supporting this series and this channel. It means the absolute world to me. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel and like the VOD. The numbers have been amazing so far, and I'm so grateful and so happy that you're all enjoying this series as much as I'm enjoying playing it, because this has been absolutely wonderful. This is the best hobby I have ever had. So thank you all so much. Your support means the world to me. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, for more Kingdom of Rizia, take care of yourselves. Bye.